Jerren, what a guy. He puts together a party and then doesn't even attend until like the end of the party, which is, usually the part where you're just cleaning stuff up. But he's got a great sword that has bleed on it. He uses Flaming Strike and a spell that I like. So if I'm gonna party and enjoy an Elden Ring run while trying to take my little hiatus from Elden Ring, I think Jerren's the guy to do it. Here's a little bit of old school for you, and it goes a little something like this. Hey everybody, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. To watch these runs live, follow us on Twitch. We're trying to take a little Elden Ring tolerance break to make sure I'm still enjoying the game when Night Rain comes out. Join the Patreon to support the channel while we try some new things and to encourage that kind of behavior. And check out Tulok, the Cardbrarian, for Magic the Gathering videos, even if you never played Magic the Gathering. They're just fun, whippy edits that I think might help you learn. Now, let's get started gathering Jerren's party. We're starting off as a prisoner. I tried making variety content again because I believed everyone who said I'd watch you play anything, but either that's not true or the algorithm just didn't show you the videos. So if I want to afford rent at the end, the class is prisoner. It's got Magic Glint Blade, a spell that Jiren uses.
Wow!
Sorry if things got a little awkward there. I guess I do feel trapped and unable to escape this to the content I'd like to make. Hopefully during this run, my feelings of capture turn into a Stockholm Syndrome of sorts. Which, by the way, did you know Stockholm Syndrome? It's made up. It's fake. The cops in the hostage situation did a very bad job and wanted an excuse for why the hostages were suing them after the encounter. So they got some psychologists to make up some baloney about how the hostages went crazy and started rooting for their captors. Now it's just part of the general consciousness, and society has decided it's a real thing. Isn't that interesting? Certainly more interesting than pressing circle on a horse to go through Limgrave again. At least we get to imagine being trapped in Fortnite. Smash that like button for Fortnite and do it on your work computer. The monkey is dancing for you, algorithm. Do you like my sensuous dance? It's just a desk job, and you don't have to like your desk job every day. You don't have to be excited by it. Being bored for 8 hours a day is what most people have to do to get by. Like most desk jobs, my shift starts with 30 minutes of nothing productive. It looks like work, and I guess it's important, but I'm not even thinking for the first 6% of my shift. Finally, we get to hit up the Impassable Great Bridge and start gathering our goodies from Redmane Castle. Factually incorrect. The lions here have Greymanes, and that would also be a cool name anyway. My next D&D character is for sure going to be Eldamar Greymane. The Flamberge. Speaking of burn, it's a great sword with bleed. Great swords are good, so is bleed, and you fight dragons, you aim for the head. It takes more damage. There were great jokes about Smaragd in the Welcome to Linearity video. That's a series I genuinely enjoy making. It's infinitely better than just describing how to press R1 again. Of course, the basic goal of this video is to beat the game as Jerren, but the real goal is to get you to make a playlist of videos to watch after this. Convince y'all the other content's where it's at and worth checking out. New videos are going to be going up every Thursday at least. We will not miss an upload. If a video has not popped into your feed on a Thursday, check the channel. Not to be Mr. YouTube shill, but the notification bell does help. Honestly, I think that's part of why they bury the videos with the algorithm, to make us plug the bell and push the notifications to your phone. Content companies like YouTube, Netflix, and Hulu, all of them are just trying to monopolize your attention. They know most consumers don't use every app and really can only afford a few of them, or can only afford the free ones. By becoming your app of choice, they're able to pepper you with more advertisements they get paid for instead of the other guy. Now, Phil, aren't you just contributing to this cycle of consumption in pursuit of media monopoly? Of course I'm not. I am fighting the Crystallion. Did you know it takes more damage after a stance break? The Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel has a lot of smithing stones. This is something I will mention for you again this run, in case you missed it in the other ones. We've never talked about it before. The Sealed Tunnel also has stones, which are important for making the character playable. You get to fight the Onyx Lord at the end. It's a boss that has low poise. You can interrupt it with your attacks. From a gameplay perspective, putting stones off the beaten path in caves incentivizes the player to explore the nooks and crannies. Your overworld movement becomes a form of self-expression in a way that determines the way your character would move forward based off of the things you find. It makes every individual player's journey feel like a unique experience, and it is fantastic game design from FromSoft. The putrid avatar is made of wood. Use fire and it dies. Now, the issue lies when you play a game incorrectly. Elden Ring is an open world game meant to be explored, and once it's explored, it does lose novelty quickly. And quickly isn't even accurate. It loses its novelty after after like thousands of hours, which is incredibly impressive on Elden Ring's end, and not at all impressive on the end of someone who played it 1,000 hours. What were you doing? Why did it take so long? The Clean Rot Knights are weak to fire, they drop a golden scarab that gives you more money. Elden Ring's expansive size is a consequence of a need to constantly make games larger. Skyrim has to be bigger than Morrowind. Fallout 76 has to be bigger than Fallout 75. Open worlds are something that can feel amazing when they're done right, but so very rarely are, in my opinion. Grail's a dragon worth a lot of runes, the Putrid Avatar is worth a lot of runes. In a pressure to expand a game, many companies forget to pepper in interesting things to find in their large fields. Elden Ring does do a great job of this, with catacombs and caves sticking out of every wall and cliffside. Margit's the first boss. We have upgraded weapons, he's very easy. Using the open world to the player's advantage allows them to achieve a level of overpowered status in the early game, which can trivialize things, but that means that the player has betrayed the intended gameplay system. You're not meant to know where everything is. The fun comes from finding. Margit is meant to be something that frustrates you. He taunts you in the cutscene and in the fight, inspiring you to want to come back as soon as you possibly can to try and kill him again. Having the patience to not do that and exploiting knowledge of the map to just be stronger than him is not what you're meant to do, which is why it's not very fun. Players will try to play optimally instead of trying to play fun. I'm at a place where I can't really separate my knowledge from the game from the gameplay. I can't fight a boss undergeared because there's no incentive to do that other than fun, and fun is not my priority. Beating Godric is, with stance breaks and bleed, as well as a flat damage boost from Flaming Strike, which is better in the early game because it's meant to be useful in the end game as well, but doesn't scale at all with your stats. All of this optimization removes the vast majority of content in the game, which means that even though Elden Ring does escape the trappings of the typical open world field running simulator, as a content creator, I've forced it back into that trap. I have to take a beautiful game that I love, dump water on it, and peel off the makeup, give it a noogie to static up the hair, and throw it in a greasy graphic t-shirt where the graphic is a butthole. We have to do Sellen's Quest, so we hit the pumpkin head. Hey, if I was selling something, you know what I'd want to use? Today's sponsor, Squarespace. That's right, gamers, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is the best place for you to build your website for your business or your party. With Squarespace, you can be a party guy who doesn't even understand how to make a website look nice, because Design Intelligence is there to do that for you. You make some basic decisions off the spot, but Design Intelligence is going to help you figure out where your text should go, what the colors should be, how big the pictures should be to make everything look professional and snappy. Squarespace is also the cool guy at the party who can accept any type of payment to make sure the pizza gets there. Squarespace helps your website handle Klarna, Apple Pay, PayPal, credit cards, ClearPay, Afterpay. If you want your guests to eat pizza now and pay for pizza later, in this metaphor, I guess, it's your services. The services you offer on your website. And those can be physical goods. Those can be courses. Those can be videos in members-only areas. Now it's a fancy party. You got a members-only area. To get started with a free trial today, go to squarespace.com. Then when you're ready to publish, go to squarespace.com/tulokmango for 10% off your first website or domain. Again, that's squarespace.com to start your free trial, squarespace.com/tulokmango for 10% off your first website or domain.
In touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you.
Hey, it's Jerren, which is me. I'm him. He's throwing a party with a variety of different characters who all have different jobs. It reminds me of that time I played Final Fantasy X that spec'd the characters into roles they weren't meant to use. In that game, the goth girl is supposed to be the black mage. The old grizzled man is supposed to be the warrior. But I let fate decide my level ups, and people, it got weird. It was very fun. I had a great time doing it, and the script is full of fun and fun jokes. It doesn't really matter if you're not familiar with Final Fantasy X. There's brief story summaries as the game is played, so you'll be able to follow along, as well as explanations of mechanics. If you love this channel because you enjoyed my narration when I was more interested in the game, that video recaptures that feeling in a spectacular way. I'd argue even more so than the original Elden Ring videos. Corey and I have both gotten a lot better at making videos, and I think it's a great video to check out after this one. Add it to a queue. Just right click, boom, add to queue. Radahn can be hit with weapons to do damage to him. Our sword has bleed and it makes him die before he jumps. People want bigger games, or at least they think they do because that's what they're sold. So much public demand in a consumer society is dictated not by the consumer, but by the industry who controls the means of production. It's less, I want this, I buy this, they make more of it, and more, we think this will sell, we'll tell you to buy it, and hopefully you do. Even FromSoft has to deal with this to an extent. Sekiro is one of their best games. Probably. I don't know. I never beat it. I'm bad at parrying. It left behind traditional RPG elements of leveling up and sculpting a character to have a more narrative-driven story, and streamline the gameplay experience to do a few things very well, rather than a huge amount of things pretty well. One game of the year, but sales were down. They didn't even make a DLC for it. Instead, just moving on to Elden Ring, which is much more in line with the Dark Souls everyone expected. If FromSoft gets punished for taking risks, why should I be any different? Even Night Rain and Duskbloods are getting dogged on for not being specifically Elden Ring 2 or specifically Bloodborne 2 respectively. They're going to be smaller multiplayer games that are more tuned into a gameplay loop than they are for open world exploration and character building. I currently have no idea if that will make the game good or not, but some in the community won't trust them even though they made fucking Elden Ring. I think it will be. I hope it will be. I'm pretty excited for it. Playing games, writing about games, and thinking about games critically has made me realize what kind of things I like in a game. And frankly, open world Elden Ring might not be it. Open world games have never really been my cup of tea. I liked Fallout 3 for the reasons a lot of people hated it. I liked that the story's pretty straightforward. There's tons of stuff you can explore, but it's pretty hard to fuck up a quest. When I tried to play New Vegas, it just didn't click for me. I felt like everything I was going to do was going to damage something somewhere else and put me in a state of decision paralysis. We're doing the Jerren and Selling quest in the background, by the way. We've done it in other videos. In the little free time I've had, I've been playing Haste. It's an indie game that's like $15 on Steam, and it's just about a girl who runs and jumps really fast. It's sick as hell, and I love that you just start. You start running. There's a hub world, and you can slow down there to buy some upgrades between levels, but then you can super sprint to the level, even in the hub world, and just run. Roguelikes like Haste are another option to achieve bigger game, and they're one that's very popular with smaller dev teams because bigger game doesn't actually get bigger. Instead of designing a veritable continent full of things to explore, you just make a satisfying core loop and a method to procedurally generate infinite levels. They don't have the polish or depth of lore that something like an Elden Ring does, but they're fun. And gamers, I like me some fun. Loretta stands on the water, makes her fire do less damage. It's still a buff though, so each hit is still better. There's no reason not to use it. Roguelike designers have also cracked the story problem by just having interstitial story beats pop up with the characters through the run. They'll never say, wow, that specific hill over there is important, because that hill might not exist. Instead, they'll tell the player something about themselves or the world in general, rules of their reality, and ways to break the loop, which is usually the core goal of a roguelike. Effectively, it seems like Night Rain is going to be Elden Ring, roguelike, focusing on a gameplay loop and getting you into the action right away. I love that. Because, and maybe I need to be more clear about this, I used to love Elden Ring. FromSoft games hooked me when I played Dark Souls 3 for the first time, which makes sense that that was my first one, because it is the least open world, and it gets dogged on for being too linear. I like linear, I like lines. I think they're neat. You might not believe it, but these videos actually take us a lot of time to make. Nobody ever does. People think run take 13 hours, video take 13 hours to make, but no, run is like the least time-consuming bit in these. Mimic Tier can't use weapons if you're not holding weapons, just put them on after it spawns in. Since I don't get a lot of free time between putting extra hours into this and building up the Magic the Gathering channel, I really don't want a game that takes a few hours to get into, to get fun. I want it to be fun right away. Weirdly, we get to summon Selin for the Red Wolf. You have to beat Radahn to put her quest at the level where you can do that. This is actually weird for us. Genuinely a weird and interesting thing that doesn't happen to us every time. Also, we two-cycled Renala after one-cycling Radahn.
That's suspicious.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's weird.
And wow, after that fight, we do get some Jerren Selin battle action. So many fights happening so close together. I don't have time to yap. Neat. Elden Ring was a big success and a lot of companies took note. Have you noticed at the Game Awards how many Souls-likes there's gonna be now? It genuinely seems every game is either trying to be Souls-like or Fortnite now. Both of those models are incredibly expensive to do and thus very risky. Concord was an infamous bomb, like a legendary bomb, because Sony wanted a Fortnite, which is actually an Overwatch because the game took so long they ripped off the wrong trend. But it would be their big online multiplayer shooter. As much as we meme about Fortnite here, Fortnite's pretty fun, y'all. The gameplay is dummy simple. You can start a match in less than 5 minutes after you get home from work, and because the content of the game is a battle against other players, the loop is always fresh. If your PvP game is fun enough, you've basically created a money printer. Congratulations. PvP has been a part of FromSoft games since Demon's Souls, but good God, I don't think they've ever been good at it. I've never once been invaded and thought, oh nice, an extra test for my skill. Instead, I always stop playing the game, spin the camera in a circle until I see them, maybe clear out enemies around myself first. More often than not, I just jump off a cliff to despawn them. Dedicated PvP arenas are fine, but so little of the game is actually built with PvP in mind, despite what they might say in interviews. The Godskin Noble is weak to bleed and slashing damage. We have both. All of the bosses of FromSoft are bigger than the player, other than the occasional NPC boss fight, which means it makes more sense to design the hitboxes to hit a big enemy instead of a person-sized enemy. Dodge rolling is critical to PvE gameplay, giving you an option to be invincible with good timing against the enemies who do considerably more damage than you do. But bringing that into a fight with someone who's already your size and doing the same amount of damage as you makes the epic confrontation of warriors look like a toddler tumbling glass, where everyone's practicing their somersaults, except whoops, someone spilled knives on the floor. Donkey Kong 64 has a multiplayer PvP mode. Most people don't know it exists, but it kind of plays like a shitty third-person GoldenEye. You can tell it's not something Rare put a lot of thought into, and that's why it's not very good. It's just an extra thing they threw in at the end. Kind of like the Regal Ancestor Spirit, am I right? This was probably the first one they made, and then they made the regular Ancestor Spirit after. It gets hit, it takes damage. To be clear, Elden Ring isn't the only game to reuse bosses. Reusing bosses is smart, especially in a game as open as Elden Ring. There's a really solid chance someone could fight the Ancestor Spirit here and miss the other one, or vice versa on a casual playthrough. It really only became a problem when playing the game for content, and might be a great way to help people understand why this is a little boring for me. Even on your first playthrough, if you're trying to 100% the game and fight every boss, you'll see the Volcano Manor Godskin Noble, then the Spirit Caller Cave Summon, then the Godskin Duo, and then the Lernia Tower Bridge Godskin Noble. Regardless of the order you do it in, the fourth time you see Jelly Roll, you're probably gonna say,
"How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?"
Sometimes the reused bosses will get new moves to mix it up, but in the case of the nobles, nah. The only variation is gank or ghost. Rykard gets hurt with the Serpent Hunter. Of the 3 Black Knife Assassin bosses, there is an escalation. First one can't do the blade beams, the second one can't do the AoE, and Electo's got it all. Wait, there's 4 of them. Okay, so the middle 2 can't do the AoE. 5, I forgot the invisible one. Wonder why. This is not counting the one in the capital before Morgoth, or the invisible 2 in the liturgical town. Gargoyles can't bleed, stand on water, it's bad for fire. This would be a great place to use the magic glint blade if it was leveled up, but we're very early in the game, and that would never be better than the bleed greatsword on every other boss. We'll use it quite a bit later. That's not a joke. Magic Glint Blade is good. It's just in an awkward investment position for early game for us for this build. Because Elden Ring is open though, you're under no obligation to fight the doubled up bosses. If you don't like it, don't do it. Effectively, these are nougat bosses. It's just sugar paste you can jam into a bar to make it bigger. Most of the time you enjoy something about a Snickers, it's the caramel, it's the peanuts, it's the ready to burst dick vein. Nougat isn't a problem by any measure, it's just there to make it look bigger than it is. Fia's champs or NPCs, I've talked about those already in this Yap session disguised as a secret starting class. To keep up appearances, here's a needle drop before the capital. The needle drop is kind of taken from Yamfa, but it's mostly a Jenny Nicholson thing. She's a creator who doesn't even do needle drops, but she does do numbered lists. It's a method to maintain audience retention and also to slot in a more reasonable amount of ad breaks on my end. For those who don't know, if you just let YouTube place your ad reads, they put one every 12 seconds, no exaggeration. I've always aimed for half the ads you would be watching on a comparable amount of time on cable. Cable shows have around 17 minutes per hour for commercials. It's why your hour-long dramas are 43 minutes on Netflix. So we try to hit something around there. Whether or not we're accurate isn't really up to us since we don't choose the length of the ad break or even what ads YouTube puts on the video. That's sort of up to them. But we do manually adjust it to be less. It can't be 0. If we don't get paid for this, we can't make the videos. Honestly, content creation is just in kind of a dark place right now because we probably should have never had it this good from a consumer perspective. The early days of YouTube were populated by people who just made videos because they wanted to. If they wanted to make money, they needed to sneak product placement in or just leverage that popularity into something that was actually lucrative. Kind of a miracle YouTube ended up paying people at all, considering how whittling people are to create content just for the joy of making it. or more often, getting a little bit of internet fame. Now, still is a big space bug. Magic Glintblade doesn't do damage, but it's great at making sure the stance pressure doesn't drop on bosses that love to run away. Now, don't get me wrong, YouTube is still the one getting the majority of the benefit from content produced on the site. I wouldn't be surprised if the ads were a means to pay for the server space rather than paying the creators. It would just be a little hard to justify putting an advertisement on something that pays the company on a video produced by someone who did the work for free. That said, there's also a reason that every creator does sponsored segments in addition to the AdSense. AdSense just doesn't pay enough. As your channel grows, so does the expectation from the audience in terms of the production value, which generally, you gotta expand the team. Those big boy giant creators like the Try Guys spin off to make a paid channel. It actually makes a ton of sense. It's not just the salaries of those guys who try, it's the salaries of the editors, the producers, the camera crew. That is expensive. Right now, we're an operation of 2 people, but I've brought on a third person, a second editor, to help with the Magic the Gathering videos. And we're doing that because Elden Ring just isn't going to be sustainable content-wise forever. Maybe it's just the burnout making the scripts less interesting, but I generally just think the game loses interest as we all move further away from the launch of the DLC. That was the best era for the channel from a viewership perspective, and it's shrunk down steadily since then. Not a ton, and the viewership is still better than when we try something new, but if it continues to go down forever, we can't count on FromSoft putting out a new game or DLC every 6 months just to keep us going. I mean, I'm shocked that we're getting Night Rain, and I'm shocked that we're getting Duskbloods. Wow, they're actually putting this stuff out pretty fast. Godfrey just gets hit with a sword. We also have a Mimic tier because Jerren can summon any Tarnished to his party. Mimic tier is a Tarnished, it's us. There were 2 Jerrens at the Radahn Fest, now there's 2 Jerrens here. Morgok can bleed, it goes better than the Godfrey Shade for that reason. We can even keep the stance pressure up while he vomits thanks to Magic Glintblade. D&D was the same way, or more specifically, my D&D show was. I started with your favorite fictional characters, which was great for the first 150 episodes, maybe? But challenge yourself. Take an hour and write down all the fictional characters you can think of, with the restriction that they also have to be capable of going on an adventure and maybe fighting someone. It's tough, isn't it? I've seen people say that the Fort Biden lands section of these videos is the reason viewership is falling off, and 1, no, it isn't. Our viewership graph is basically identical to the Elden Ring Google Trends graph, but 2, fine? I don't know, if playing nice and apolitical would have made us a more successful channel because we had viewers that don't want basic human rights for their fellow humans, I'd rather make a video for 100 cool people than a million assholes. I mean, if we only had 100 viewers, we'd have to quit. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I'd rather quit than know a bunch of people who watch my videos hate trans people or immigrants or the unhoused or women. Nothing I've said here should be remotely controversial in my mind. Everyone loves to say common sense until that common sense is installing public toilets so the unhoused can take a shit. Also gives you a place to take a shit. Yeah, the unhoused one, that was the one people got the maddest at us for. And I really just said, like, I don't know, benches are good for you too. As a creator, you're like the owner of your own bar. If that bar had 100 people in it and 5 of them love to shit their pants, then loudly proclaim how much they enjoy shitting their pants. As a bar owner, you should probably try and keep those people from coming in. Unfortunately, because this is a public forum, we can't really kick you out. And a lot of you have stayed. I see some haters comment on every video praying for our downfall. Sweetie, go to therapy. Then when you tell your therapist how mad you are at a YouTube man, realize you went to therapy because you were mad at a YouTube man. To a certain extent, I have to interact with you. Ignore the comments is pretty terrible advice from a practical perspective. The actual analytics we get boil down to people are watching your video more, or people aren't watching your video more. That's about it. We can also see the like to dislike ratio, but that's always living in the 95 to 98% range. It's like a goddamn IGN review. Even our most downvoted videos, which may or may not have entire videos made about how terrible they are at 92 approval at the worst. I'd say a similar amount of the comments are positive too, which means it'd be a terrible idea trying to appeal to like the 5% of people who don't like the videos, since the things they complain about are the favorite things and the positive comments. Fire Giant has good fire defense, but nothing in the game has negative resistance. We don't use the fire part of the sword anyway, it's fine. If you're looking to make content, the best advice I can give you is to find your ride or dies and make the stuff they like. Obviously, you should start by making the things you like and try not to appeal to an audience beyond yourself, because if you don't like making the videos for free, it's not going to become more fun when you need to make them to pay rent. But after making videos for you, there should be a loyal contingency of people who really fit with your vibe. They'll probably stick around forever. There's something really special about being one of the first 100 subscribers of someone and watching them become big. So if you ever see a thumbnail that looks interesting despite the channel having lower views or lower subscribers, give it a shot. Become one of the first ride or dies. We still have people watching who showed up for my first D&D videos from over 5 years ago. Hit the Godskin duo, summon Burning, it makes the fight more fun. From a creator side, try to recognize people who show up regularly in your comments and see what they're saying. The meteor literacy check is super popular with our rider dies, to the point that I've actually thought about trying to fit it into runs where we don't have to gather the Shadow Tree fragments. Unfortunately, there's just no break in this fast-paced game where I could talk about it. It's just wall-to-wall boss fights. This section actually is, though. Malekith right after the bird run, which is annoying, but definitely not very time-consuming. Definitely not as time-consuming as the Run of Fire Giant or the chores for Fortizax or Estelle. Rykard, also a quest. Anyway, we hit Malekith with the sword. Gideon right after, famously easy, and Horalu after that. I notice I call him Godfrey instead of Horalu most of the time, but I call Malekith instead of Beast Clergy, probably because the latter one is a name. Also, we hit Godfrey with the sword. Radahn is weak to fire, hit him with that, and then hit the Elden Beast, and don't get hit by its attacks. What's the deal with Malenia, Blade of Mikola? Effectively, my experience as a YouTuber has been that of a frog that needs to hop from lily pad to lily pad, but also has to build the lily pad. The pivot to variety is an attempt to just lower the pond level in general so we can give up on the lily pad idea. FromSoft stuff will happen when there's something from FromSoft to do, but I don't want to burn it into the ground and try to suck every drop of possible content out of it. It would be awesome if I thought there were 100 great videos to make out of Night Rain, but currently I'm suspecting, I don't know, 10 to 20 maybe? Again, I don't know exactly what's in there. But the Switch 2 is coming out. I'm interested in that. A lot of those games look great. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Oh my god. A 3D Donkey Kong game. I just talked about Donkey Kong 64 earlier in this video because I love it. People complain about it and say there's too many things to collect. Whatever. I don't care. It's so fun. I love it. Obviously Mario Kart will be great. I mentioned Haste earlier in this video, which probably isn't a Switch 2 game, but it's the exact kind of game I'd like to play. Something that takes between 8 to 10 hours to beat, is made by a team of 50 or less and costs less than $40. That's the kind of games I want the future of gaming to be. I don't need endless open worlds to explore. I don't need a server that could sustain 40 billion players at any given moment. I've seen an interesting gameplay concept that doesn't take long to start and doesn't wear out its welcome. Niall has goons. Hit them first, then hit him. Though weirdly, I am kind of not at all sweaty about Nintendo raising the prices of their games. Like, I'm aware that sucks and everything is more expensive these days, but video games have been pretty immune to that. The first Zelda game cost $50 in 1986. Adjusting for inflation, that's $145. 1991, Link to the Past comes out, still $50. Adjusting for inflation, $118. Ocarina of Time, $60 in 98, which is cool, $98 today. Wind Waker, $50 in 2003, that's $88 today. Twilight Princess, $50 in 2006, that's $80 today. Breath of the Wild was $60 in 2017, which is $79 today. That game doesn't feel that old, but oh my god, it's almost 10 years old. Yikes. It for sure ruled that game prices didn't really increase with the rate of inflation, but it's wild that they didn't, because games have been getting bigger, more expensive as time goes on. Because remember earlier when I said they were bigger? We're coming back to that. I have ADHD. We're going to bounce around a bit. Using census data, we can find the median household income for each of those years and figure out how much Zelda cost each year. After we hit Mo with a weapon with bleed. He's weak to bleed. You probably knew that. For Zelda was 0.17% of your family's annual income. Not 17%, 0.17%. All of these are percentages of percentages. Important to note. Link to the Past was 0.16% of your family's median income. Ocarina of Time, 0.15%. Wind Waker is 0.11% of your family's median income. Twilight Princess is 0.08%. And this is where the switch happens. Pun not intended, but also not avoided. Breath of the Wild is 0.09% of your median family income in 2017. It is the first time in this weird Zelda-based economic chart that the percentage goes up. And then an $80 game for the Switch 2, based on the 2024 median family income, because 2025 isn't over yet, is going to be 0.10% of your family's median income. These are fractional percentages, but like, it matters. It also matters because we're measuring the median. That means if a bunch of money was maybe, I don't know, pooling up at the top, we kind of skew the numbers a bit. Not as much as using an average instead of a median. That's why you use a median, but it is still skewed. Basically, if you're seeing that household income of $80,000 for 2024 and thinking, what the shit, that seems really high, it's because you haven't gotten a raise. Last time the minimum wage was raised was in 2009, which is hard for us to understand because no Zelda games came out that year. Loretta rides a horse. She doesn't even have enough health. We died to her once anyway. It's fine. That means we're looking at a 15-year gap in increases to the minimum wage, which is the longest in the history of the minimum wage, beating out the previous record gap between 1997 and 2007 by 5 years. That's a 50% record break. Oh, and by the way, I don't think we're raising the minimum wage in the next few years. To put this all in Elden Ring terms, because, you know, that's the footage that's happening in the background, the current Two Gods speedrun world record, which is beating Elden Beast and Consort Radahn, is 1 hour and 25 minutes. Also, Jesus, holy Christ, that's fast. Clearing that record by 50% would mean beating both of them in 43 minutes. If someone did that, that would like shatter gaming news. Maybe I should speedrun to make this all faster. The fact is, politics have come for your video games. It doesn't matter if you went to video games as an escape. Politics has entered the chat and the mods are asleep. Malenia is weak to fire and bleed, something this weapon has. She's still hard. We died a few times. All of this inflation stuff was actually something I wanted to make a video about before the Marvel Rivals video flopped. And also, in the background, that bumped up to being in a better place, especially because we're trying out new things. Things aren't really as bad as I thought they were when I started writing the script. Wow, great. That's good. That's good. I actually kind of like the script now. It is just certified yapping, but whatever. We're here. We're in it. If I played Elden Ring, you're damn sure I'm going to get a video out of it. I also paused making that video for another reason, which is, holy shit, we might not even get Switch 2s in America because of those tariffs. Pre-order stopped. I couldn't even get mine pre-ordered. If you weren't aware, those tariffs would drastically increase the price of the Switch and all the Switch games, because all Switches and all Switch games are manufactured in other countries. Not even for like nefarious reasons. Nintendo is Japanese. Duh. Tariffs are taxes on goods from other countries. You will pay the tariffs. Would the tariffs go into effect, it would be the largest raising of taxes in the history of the United States. It is a completely non-progressive tax as well, arguably a regressive one. If you're out of the loop, a progressive tax is something that puts higher tax rates on people earning more money. It makes more sense for a few reasons. One, the more money you have, the less of your income you need to live. Like, you just don't need that money as much as someone who's barely buying food. But two, and perhaps more importantly, you get a lot more out of your taxes than someone who's poor. If you're a job creator, you're relying on a workforce with high school diplomas. Everyone who works for you that has a high school diploma makes your business better than if they didn't. If you're shipping your goods on the roads, you need those roads to be roads. Bridges collapse and your deliveries are late. That's bad for business. Bridges collapse, your employees die. Also bad for business. Pinko commie lefties, mute your ears. This is just for the conservatives, but the rich also benefit the most from the police and the military, like a lot more. Poor people don't benefit from the police at all, but the cops who beat the shit out of anyone who shoplifts, that's you, rich guys. Cool. It doesn't help the poor guy who needs diapers for his kid. The military budget is largely spent subsidizing one of our only major export industries, weapons. We make weapons here. That's an export we actually do, and a type of manufacturing we actually do. The government pays for those weapons to be made and hands the money to rich people to do it. Fortisax is easier with magic glint blade. It hits his head. We're going to continue in the media literacy section because getting meta on the media literacy section, it's here because politics does impact your games. It's doing it right now. Anyway, rich people can get paid by the government through subsidies. That's what Elon Musk does. That's a big part of his wealth. Tesla sells their green energy credits, which are subsidies from the government, and NASA pays SpaceX to make rockets. So yeah, people are getting paid profits from the government, and I think they should pay more taxes than people who need food stamps. We spend a lot more on subsidies than we do on food stamps. And I would argue that those welfare queens are doing much less harm to society than arms manufacturers. Forget the fact that food stamps have to be spent on like food. Even if they were just buying booze and being drunk and shitty, they're only really ruining their lives and their friends and families' lives. The military-industrial complex kills people every day. Back to the tariffs. That's something that everyone will have to pay, but poor people will have to pay a much larger percentage of their income for it than rich people. Think about it this way. Everyone needs a cell phone. You do. If you want a job so you can have an income, you factually need a cell phone in 2025. Do rich people need more than one cell phone? Yes. They need a second burner phone to hide from their spouse when they text sex workers, but that's still only 2 phones. If a family of 4 needs 2 cell phones each because everyone is cheating on everyone, that's still only 8 cell phones. Remember that average household income from the Zelda bit? It's $80,000-ish, but we'll round it up to $100,000 to make the math easier. It also gives it a more charitable read to the rich guy. To be even more charitable, let's assume that the average family splits 1 cell phone between the 4 of them. A millionaire family would need to spend 10 times that of the average family to feel the same economic pressure, and they don't, even with an 8-to-1 cell phone ratio. Also, if we actually did 80,000 instead of 100, it would be 12.5, but who's counting? You can expand this out to everything. They'd have to eat 10 times the food, drive 10 times the car, use 10 times the gas in the 10 times the car. That's just not going to happen. So the poorer family is going to be impacted by the tariffs more. Also, this is just someone who's a millionaire against someone with $100,000. I know there's a lot of people in the audience who are like, I would do horrible things to make $100,000 a year, because a lot of you are probably doing shitty jobs for a lot less than that. So let's expand the metaphor to a billionaire and a millionaire. The millionaire is now the poor, and the billionaire is now the rich. That's not a ratio of 10 to 1, like the millionaire and the 100,000aire. This is a ratio of 1,000 to 1. So if you have $1 billion, in order to be as impacted in the tariffs as a millionaire, you would need to spend 1,000 times the amount of money as the millionaire. I'm not talking about businesses. I mean, the principle's the same, a small mom and pop shop versus like Amazon, but that's why tariffs are regressive. They hit the poor people more for a much greater impact than they do the rich people. At the time of writing this, I have no idea if the tariffs are even happening. They've been paused, unpaused, reduced, unreduced, and flipped all up and down. It's incredibly unclear. Also want to clarify, tariffs aren't inherently terrible. The argument that they help protect American manufacturing is just very flawed, because the network of global capitalism has spent decades shifting manufacturing to South America and Southeast Asia. That's just where we make stuff as a planet. It hasn't been great for the global South either, with effectively slave labor popping up to make prices cheaper for countries north of the equator to justify shipping their goods in from the South. America lost its jobs, and people who got them are being exploited instead. It's kind of a bad deal for everyone who's not the person getting cheaper labor. So tariffs disincentivize the consumer from buying foreign products, demand goes up for domestic product, and everyone wins, right? Well, we don't have domestic product. We don't have factories that could make a Switch 2, and we can't just build a factory overnight. Nintendo sure as shit isn't going to do that, because why would they? As nasty as the tariffs are, there's still a more reasonable alternative than building a place to manufacture the Switch 2 in the United States. Just putting together a factory to assemble the pieces that would still be imported would still take years. All the pieces imported would also be taxed by the tariff, raising the prices anyway to meet a very small percentage of the demand in a much slower time frame. Think about it like this. It would probably be best for every small town in America to get rid of their Walmart and just have a local grocery store instead. It would be better. But if the Walmart already ran the grocery stores out of business, you can't bulldoze that Walmart until there's a new grocery store. The people in town will starve without groceries before you can build the new store. Also in this metaphor, the town is not going to invest in the grocery store themselves and instead make Walmart build them a grocery store. That doesn't make sense, even if it starts off from a reasonable place of, we should do a local business instead of a Walmart. Now all this is to say that when the Switch 2 ends up getting here, which it will, even if people are literally stashing them in trunks and driving them over the Canadian border, it's going to be expensive. I was joking about the border stuff, but if that happens, they're definitely going to surcharge it. Scalpers are real dickish about reselling consoles. But politics and capitalism have officially hit your gaming. It's no longer safe. And speaking of, hey, why is everyone so pissy about console exclusives now? Duskbloods looks awesome. I'm stoked for it. And trust Miyazaki, even if PvP isn't my favorite. Apparently it's PvPvE. I don't know what that means, but they'll figure it out. Or they won't. But the fact that it's a console exclusive doesn't really get under my gills, because Nintendo gave me money to say that. Oh no, I've been busted. I've never been given any money by Nintendo or by Sony, but sweaty ass Wukong heads get so pissy at everyone, myself included, who enjoyed Astrobot, and a lot of them were crying because it's a console exclusive. I think this is just a bad faith argument, because everyone who cries about not wanting games to be political actually loves when games get political. And to make games political, all the anti-woke grifter shit, all the sweet baby games shit, all the fail guard shit, you're doing politics. And Wukong became their champion because the developers are shitty to women. Congrats. Astrobot runs laps around that mid-ass Elden Ring wannabe in its sleep, because in Astrobot, if the character falls asleep, there'll be a little animation where there's like a leaf that floats above his face. It's just a fun thing to see. That's what Astrobot does. Astrobot's the GOAT. If I am to engage with that premise though, and not just take it for the poor faith argument that it is, sure, console exclusives suck. Well, no, console exclusives are pretty regularly the best games of their generation. They have to be. System sellers sell systems, and selling systems generally actually isn't very profitable. Historically, a lot of video game consoles are sold at a loss. The PS3 and Wii U come to mind. If the $450 price of the Switch is anywhere near profitable for production, I'm going to imagine it's very minimally profitable. Also, no shot it stays $450 now. Everyone get ready for your $900 video game console, and great job owning the libs. I'm very owned now. Also, please never call me a lib. Call me a leftist, socialist. I don't care. Just don't call me a lib. Anarchist isn't even accurate. At least it's not insulting. Companies lose money selling their consoles because the real revenue comes from selling the software. Every Wii game sold puts a little money in the Nintendo coffers, so who gives a shit if they lost money when they sold you the Wii? That's the console you're buying stuff for now, and dang, they're gonna make a killing off of you. Console exclusives like Mario, Zelda, Astrobot, and Duskbloods get people to buy the console, and once you have the console, you want to play more games on it. It's bad for consumers, 100%. Capitalism kinda is. The invisible hand of the market works on incentive. If a person with capital isn't incentivized to do something, why the hell would they? Even Microsoft sharing some of their exclusives with Nintendo, like Cuphead, that's a PR move. It's to make you tweet, wow, isn't Microsoft cooler than Sony? Sony would never. Also, if they publish Cuphead, they still get money from the sales on the Switch. Nintendo gets some too. Even when a company does something good for the customer, they're really just doing it for themselves and their shareholders. Which leaves you, the consumer, to be screwed. Ideal perfect capitalism has the capital owner paying to make the product, the worker doing the work to make the product, and the customer buying the product. It's a happy triangle. The capital owner is incentivized to make the best product, so he pays his workers well to get the best workers. Then the customer chooses the best product. So the good capital owner who has the best workers is also the winner of the capitalism. Flawless system. But it could be improved. What if we had a secondary market where customers could invest in companies they like? It would sort of be like betting on the company's success, but for some reason, we won't consider it gambling. That would allow the capital owner to make even more money by just showing off how successful they will be in the future to the customer. It's stocks, baby. We made stocks, and now the capital owner can make way more money selling stocks of the company than they actually do making the product they used to make. The investor is the fourth side of this triangle, and you're correct. Triangles don't work with four sides. Since the investor is interested in their investment, the product of the company is no longer the product. The company is the product of the company. It is a company that produces itself, and their product is the profitable company. Their goal, to become the most company. Would the company look better if it spent less money? Of course it would, because the profits would stay the same, but they'd be more profitable. When the company has more money, it can create a better product for the customer. Our fourth side is actually fine, stocks are good. But wait a second, the product isn't the product anymore. The company is the product. So now the company is going to do everything it can to look more profitable, even if that doesn't help the product that the consumer is trying to buy. Cheaper supplies, cheaper workers, hell, less workers. Let's lay some people off. Labor is a huge cost on our end, and if we can fire a few thousand employees, we'll look wicked profitable this quarter and get a lot more money, because it is not enough to get investor attention to be steadily profitable. You cannot just make more money than you spend. You need to increase the gap between your spending and your profits. You need to inflate. You need to have acceleration, not speed. Now, firing all of those people will cause a slight issue of no one being around to make the base product, which you still do technically need, but you could just hire a few newer people to make the product now and pay them less than the old people who thought they needed raises because they'd been with the company for so long. Now, will these new workers be as skilled as the old workers? No, but they're cheaper. The product might suffer, but that's fine as long as the true product, the company, is looking good. And that's where the games industry is at right now. This is why your games suck now. It's not woke, it's not DEI, it's mass layoffs and an interest in the investors instead of the consumers. Why the fuck did Rocksteady make a Destiny clone with the Suicide Squad? Because Warner Brothers wanted a Fortnite. The games that sell right now are Fortnite and Elden Ring. We can only make Fortnite and Elden Ring, missing the point that everyone has Fortnite and everyone has Elden Ring. So you're not going to make a better Fortnite and you're not going to make a better Elden Ring. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League didn't fail because it was woke. Because, also, what the fuck are you even talking about? That game was woke. Harley Quinn is a girl and Deadshot is black. I know you call that woke, but they're the Suicide Squad characters. That's not going woke. It's putting John and Paul in the Beatles movie. It's woke because they beat the Justice League. Can you read? That's the title of the game. It's also the plot of Injustice 1 and 2, and a lot of comic books. When the Teen Titans fight Trigon, Robin doesn't stay home smoking a bowl. When the Avengers fight Thanos, Hawkeye doesn't go get chips for when they're done. Unpowered people fight people with powers. That's comic books. No, the game sucked because it was a buggy mess. It was a looter shooter starring two characters who don't even shoot. You weren't mad about Captain Boomerang using guns. You were mad that there was a chick in it. There's so much failure to go around with that game. And you went with, there's a girl. Anytime a game is bad, you say it's because woke, but woke, think about this, doesn't take very long. It's a casting decision. It's not expensive. Someone just said, that girl from West Side Story is good at singing. Maybe she could be Snow White. Then there's an evil executive in the corner of the room that says VFX workers are one of the few Hollywood jobs that aren't unionized. Let's exploit the shit out of them and make some fuck ugly CGI characters and environments because we're paying people slave wages and making them do millions of hours of work in 3 months. Pre-production is expensive this quarter and we want this quarter's budget to look good, so let's push the budget to post-production, which is a future quarter, because none of us understand that tomorrow comes. The anti-woke grifters also don't count any woke stuff that's good. Elden Ring, where there's a villain named America, totally apolitical, couldn't be about anything. Alan Wake 2, God of War, Spider-Man, they're sweet baby games babies. They rip super fucking hard too, and they all have diverse casts who do a fantastic job. Concord failed because woke. No, it's because they missed the Overwatch boat by like 8 years, didn't advertise the game except for one CGI cutscene 2 months before release, and dumped an entire country's GDP into it. It's not because at the beginning of development someone was like, hey, you know how Overwatch has people from different parts of the world? We should do that. Let's have characters with different backgrounds instead of 16 white guys. That wasn't the problem. I mean, it's not like Marvel Rivals has diversity. It's only white men characters, other than Ling Lee being Iron Fist instead of Danny Rand, Luna Snow being a K-pop OC, Do Not Steal, Black Panther, Storm, Magneto, Mexican Namor instead of Roman Namor. Y'all ain't mad about that? His name is Roman backwards. No peeps, because it's a hit. If it's woke and it's a hit, it's actually anti-woke, because you can jerk off to the Rule 34 page. The industry is on fire, and instead of grabbing an extinguisher, you're crying in the corner because the firefighter coming to save you might be a girl. The golden hippopotamus is a big dumb animal. It's weak to fire damage.
Alright, this party's off to a bit of a snowstorm.
Commander Gaius is hard. His hitboxes are big and he blocks 5 Shadow Tree fragments, so you can never fight him with max level until NG+. But the pig reminds me, I beat Pokemon Scarlet when it first came out, and it was just Lechonk. CJ got his video out first, and that's awesome. I watched it. It's a very good video. But our Lechonk only video, we didn't use any items in battle. It's a little extra challenge that might make the whole thing a little too challenging. It's also just really funny. I recently watched it. It's actually one of the reasons that I decided to try it and pivot the channel again, because even though that video flopped and is one of the reasons I tried not to pivot the channel, I watched it again and it's really good. And I saw how happy I was in it, and it made me want to try that again. Mesmer is a snake man. He can bleed. I hit him with a sword that makes things bleed, but he also makes fire. And we like to make fire videos, like this one where we beat Mass Effect without any guns. That one gets hot. There's an alien sex scene in it. You skipped it? You missed that video? It's on the channel. This is what the thumbnail looks like. Go click on it. Romina is a bug, and okay, real throwback here. Bug snacks? Back when the channel was called Tulok and Mango because Corey was on the mic with me, we did a full bug snacks playthrough. It was super fun. What if I just grabbed those old video Let's Plays and wrote scripts like this for them? The content's there, you just wouldn't be able to see my pretty face. I could just record my face for a little bit and pretend I'm doing the gameplay live. We'll just fake it. Movie magic. Jory throws a big party, just like our party in Final Fantasy X. Did I already plug that one? Wild, because I'm plugging it again. This is the thumbnail. It looks really, really great, and the video is almost over and people need to make a queue. You know how to do that, right? Right-click the dots in the corner of the video thumbnail and hit add to queue. It'll just autoplay after this one then. Divine Beast Dancing Lion. That seems like some Gruul shenanigans that would fit into my commander deck for Ruby, Daring Tracker. She's Little Red Riding Hood, and this is a guy pretending to be a wolf. Oh, that's the opposite of the story, actually. Well, if you like Magic the Gathering, the video is fantastic. It's on Tulok the Cardbarian. We really upped our commitment to making the videos come out at a reasonable time frame. Hey, but what happened to making speculative cards for Elden Ring Universes Beyond like I said I would in the Nile video? Well, I realized, holy shit, I'd have to Photoshop like 30 speculative cards with full abilities and then come up with 40 reprints to put in each of those decks. It would just be so much work. That's per deck too. Coming up with ideas is fine, but actually busting out the Photoshop would be a nightmare. Sorry, I bit off more than I could chew there. It's something that happens. Relana uses a red sword and a blue sword, then slings spells at us. It's just like the Is It Spellslinger deck I made that's focused on impulse drawing. Oh my gosh, another fantastic video you might not have known about but could check out if you want to see how much fun I have talking about other things. Meteor is a weird space alien just like Erexa from Doctor Who, which was the first Magic the Gathering video I made. It's on the wrong channel because I didn't know what I was doing with the channels yet. Still don't. It's really a struggle. They're all in a playlist together, so you won't miss it if you just check out that playlist. Cutressa Knight. This is a video about Delny, Streetwise Lookout. They make tiny creatures get stronger, and there's a little twist to the win con I won't spoil. Just go check it out. This is an off-the-wall one, but I made a video about the number 23 because that movie's insane, and nobody ever mentions it when talking about so bad they're good movies. Even worse, some people remember the movie being good and use it as an example of Jim Carrey being a good dramatic actor. I think he is a good dramatic actor. Not Not in that movie though. That movie's bad. And in a really weird way that I wanted to talk about. Great video. Sunflower Minecraft.
Chicken jockey!
Y'all, how many of your favorite creators can you watch experiencing Minecraft for the first time in their 30s in the year of our chicken jockey 2024? Not only that, I did survival mode, didn't look up any guides, and just tried to live 30 days. An all-time Tulok great, and it's a feature-length video. Don't see the Minecraft movie, just rent out a theater, put this on, and throw your popcorn whenever you want. Consort Radahn is one of the only bosses I can actually say something about that's interesting during the narration. Like, I think I might want to make D&D content again. It's been long enough, and I think if I set some ground rules, I might be able to do it and keep enjoying it too. Now, is that just because if I want to get out of my Elden Ring rut, I need to make money from other sources? It's not just because of that, like 70%. And then we fought Bale. Well, hey, I hope you have a nice long queue of videos you can check out, and I really hope you enjoy them. I also hope you enjoyed this video. I know a lot of you like the media literacy checks, and this was sort of the ultimate Phil Yaps video. If you're a true yap head and made it to the end of this video, can I get an appa yap yap in the comments? I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. Thanks for watching. Y'all really are the best. The main reason I want these videos to be better is because I think you deserve better videos. No, it's because I'm unhappy, but you do deserve better videos, and that is part of it. Join the Patreon if you can support me. Every time we mix it up, things get rocky here. Get less rocky with Patreon support. Check out all the videos I plugged at the end there. Seriously, I think you'll get a real kick out of them. Thank you, bye.